Hey guys, Kev here, and I'm ready to do the featherweight battle of the century. We got a blade battle for you guys tonight. I've been really amped up to do this one. Just a fun one for me. More of a custom end one than like production knives or budget knives, but I think it'll be fun. We have the 3-inch master of design, Ray Laconico, coming in with the MBK Sea Otter. Otter. Bang, look at that 3-inch blade with a little bit of titanium and 154 cm. She just lost a battle against the Waypoint and the Tactile Knife Co. Rockwall and trying to redeem herself. And the contender, the Gavco Nurse, is a liner lock nurse, custom from Mike Gavick himself. Roughly 3-inch blade, maybe a little bit less on this one. Titanium and Nitro V. And I think it's a good comparison in terms of size and construction and all that stuff. So we shall be getting into the blade battle, the featherweight knockout round. All right, I'll shut up. Are you ready to rumble? All right, here we go. Let the battle begin. Of course, I didn't write down the category so we can see it right here. So we're gonna have, oh my God, price, perceived value. I know those two. Materials, I think that one usually goes first. Aesthetics, ergos, cutting, carry, sounds, action, fit and finish, and leftability, I believe, are the categories. Should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep. Then we have the Nurse and the Sea Otter. Bang. And then we have totals, and we have a winner. All right, cool. All makes sense to you guys. Those are the categories. You get 1 point for a win, 0 if you obviously don't win that round. And yeah, I should have added one more round because isn't it 12 for a boxing match? Well, the total is 12, right? Okay, that'll work. It'll work. All right, so price. This one's real easy, guys. This Gavco Nurse, so I guess I should do a quick overview of these knives. I'm not going to do full reviews on either of these because I'm going to let this serve as that purpose. I've had this one for a few months at this point. I've had some issues with it. When I got it, so first I got a frame lock Nurse, and then I traded that for a liner lock Nurse because I'm left-handed. It just made more sense to get a liner lock, right? I got that, and I loved it, but it got here, and all of a sudden I started having a ton of lock stick on it. And the guy who had it before me didn't have any. It was really weird, right? And so I eventually sent it off to Mike Gavick, who is Gavco Knives, and I asked him, one, to strengthen the detent, because it was fine, but it was just a little lighter than I'd want it. I really like a crisp deployment, when it pops out. And that one was okay, but not as good as I'd like it. So I sent it in. He increased the detent, and I told him about the lock stick. And he said it didn't have any when he got it, and he thought maybe I just had gotten some, like, KPL or something on the lock bar, and that will obviously cause issues because you're adding a little bit of lube, and that can make the lock bar slide over more, right? So I get it back, and I love the detent. I get it perfectly where I want it. I take it apart. I put bearings in because he puts all his knives together with 3/16 steel-caged steel bearings, which running on titanium, just, I don't know. I I didn't like that. I prefer to have ceramic. Not that ceramic's better on titanium, but I just prefer ceramic bearings over steel. And I also prefer a nicer cage over those steel or even brass stamped cages. So I replaced them and I Loctited it, and bang, knife was awesome, right? And then after like a week, it just started having this crazy lock stick again. And I took it apart. I cleaned it with alcohol everywhere to make sure there was no lube because, again, he thought it was like oil or something on the lock bar. And I just couldn't get rid of the stick. I ended up sending it to him a second time for the lock stick. And Mike gets it, and he says there's no lock stick. There's nothing there. And he didn't take it apart that time. He just cleaned it with alcohol, and he said he flicked it a bunch of times, and it didn't have any stick. Well, Mike lives in Florida. And I got the knife back. I live in Pennsylvania. And I flick it 3 times out of the package. And I'm like, yes, no stick. And then the 4th time, boom, just starts crunching. And it literally gets lock stick. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos on it or lives or whatever. It was like hard sometimes to disengage. So after that, I contacted him again. I'm like, dude, it just keeps getting lock stick, and he stopped responding to me at that point. So I don't know what that's about. He had an injury with his shoulder, but that was kind of during that, and he was responding after that. So he hasn't responded to any of my emails since that second time I got it back, and I told him there was lock stick again. So I have a feeling he just thinks I'm an idiot and don't know what lock stick is or something. I don't know. It's very strange. He just stopped responding. I can't really say much to that. I've emailed him 3 times since. Once, maybe more, because I was emailing him saying, hey, man, the lock stick's back, and it's like worse than ever. Then I took it apart and sent him a video of me dousing it in alcohol to show that there was no oil on anything, and it still got lock stick. And then I told him some of my friends, the knife modders, they carbonize stuff. They can carbonize stuff. So I said, do you carbonize your lock faces? Because I can get that done, and that'll probably resolve it. Obviously, I never got an answer. I sent it off to the knife modders. They carbonized it. I got it back. It's been perfect ever since. That's all it needed was a little bit of carbonizing on the lock face so that it doesn't have issues with lock stick. That's why people use steel inserts or carbonize the lock face, because titanium on steel just is not a good combination. So I can't speak to what Mike was thinking or his feelings on it. All I can tell you is I haven't heard anything since I got it back with all that lock stick the second time. I did email him the other day and I said, hey man, I got it back and it's perfect now. I haven't heard anything about that either. So I love this knife, and I was ready to sell it when I got it back, basically solely because of my experience. Like not getting responses now, and basically seems like I'm getting shunned by the maker because I have an issue with the knife. Like, I didn't cause the issue. The issue was on the knife. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I fixed it. But I love this design so much, and the ergos, the action, that I just can't sell it. So I don't know. I'm hoping maybe he sees this and finally responds or says, sorry, I totally just didn't realize you were emailing. I don't know. But anyway, that's the whole story with Gavco. I love this knife. I've thought about buying others. I have bought another Gavco in between buying this and all those issues. But I traded that for my Oz Machine Company Roosevelt, which was totally worth it. That knife wasn't really for me. This is. So that's the Nurse. Sorry, that was a long story. This one is the MBK Sea Otter. I picked this up off of a buddy who got it at Blade Show West. And luckily, he just needed some money for some stuff going on, and I picked it up. I really like it. I originally got it. I did have some detent lash, so they both have some history there. Had a little bit of detent lash. I did send it to MBK. They reset the detent and sent it back to me. Sanford Owen is the man. So that was taken care of. The centering was a little bit off when I got this one as well. And that was more of a issue of when it was put together. It just needed to be centered up. And I don't know why. Now all of a sudden it looks off again. It was definitely dead center earlier. It's tight. I know that. Yeah, it is. It's fine. I don't know what I'm looking at. It does look a little off, doesn't it? It's not. Anyway, so I got that sorted out. And anyway, I love this knife. Titanium, 154 cm. This one's titanium and Nitro V. This does have a carbonized lock face. It's not a steel insert, but it's carbonized. It's got thumb studs, obviously, and you can front flip it and do all that stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to do a brief overview of them. They've both been sent back to the makers to be updated. You will have those types of issues with sort of custom-y knives, right? Like, so it's fine as long as they take care of it, right? Which sort of happened here and did happen here. 100% fantastic customer service. This was great customer service until it just fell off a cliff and I haven't heard anything. So, all right. So let the battle begin. Price. This one, these go for like, I mean, I just saw one of these almost identical sold for $900 from Gavco. You could probably get them on the secondary for anywhere from like 7 to 8 in this configuration, liner lock, maybe a little less for a frame lock. These are $380 new. So price is going to go to the Sea Otter. 10. Perceived value. So that's an interesting one. Obviously, this one costs more than this one, and this one is right now pretty hot on the market. People are really trying to get these. I feel like Gavco's always had a pretty strong following, and I've had a lot of people ask me to buy this and all types of things, right? So it's kind of hard to say, like, but this goes for $900 new. And I haven't really seen them sell for less than that. Whereas this goes for $380 new. And if I wanted to be a dick, I could probably sell this for like $500 on the secondary right now, maybe more. I would never get the full retail price of this again. I didn't pay that. But if you know what I'm saying, these go for higher than retail. These don't. So I got to give it to the Sea Otter again. Materials. So this one, I think I got to give this one to the Nurse. So this one has titanium scales over a titanium, you could call it a liner lock. It's basically a frame lock, sub frame lock, right? He just makes a frame lock essentially and then puts a liner over it. It does make it a little bit thicker than normal doing that, but it's a good construction. I love that it's a liner lock. The blade is Nitro V. This is 154 cm and titanium. So I don't know. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know which steel is considered better. I consider Nitro V better, I guess. I don't know why I do though, actually. Kind of think maybe 154 cm would be considered a higher end steel. I don't know. They're very, very similar, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. I think I'm just going to call it a tie because of that. Yeah, I'm going to call that a tie, which I know that's a cop-out, but each one gets a point for materials. Aesthetics. So this one's tough, man, because the Sea Otter is absolutely gorgeous. I love this silhouette. It really just, like, wets my whistle, if you know what I'm saying. I love the little silver accents that pop off it. Love the finish on the scales, the stonewash on the blade. Just pops, right? It's just a really sweet looking design. The Gavco Nurse there's something about this design that just, I don't know. If I had seen this a year ago, I would not have been like, oh my God, right? Like, I was never a big Warney guy, but as of late, I've just grown these sheep's footy Warney blades. Like, I'm literally in the process of having one made, right, in that sort of blade shape. So, I don't know, and I love the kind of shadow boxing of the liners. And then this is what puts this knife over the top, because honestly, they're both just gorgeous in their own way, right? But what puts this over the top is this absolutely just stunning, what I call like dinosaur jimping or dinosaur milling. Like that shit he does on those scales is just absolute, on the scale, on the spine, is just absolutely so sexy. And then it even goes into the choil here. Whatever that is just gorgeous and fantastic. And that's what puts it over the top, as much as I absolutely love the aesthetics of this one. And I love that opening hole too. So we're going to give that one to the Nurse. Ergos. Okay. So I think this one's going to be pretty easy. I love the Ergos on the Sea Otter. It fits my hand pretty well. I have a large glove size hand. I can go into this index choil and I fit them all. And it is like very comfortable, right? You could choke up a little bit onto this flat and you're good, right? It's very comfortable. But the Nurse is just like designed for my hand almost. When you're in this choked up grip, it's just so comfortable to hold like this. And I can hold it back here, and it's still very comfortable. I will say, this is more comfortable than this, right? But this is just supremely comfortable to that. Although, now that I'm really feeling it, I mean, this is super comfortable. You know what? I think I'm going to change my mind. I think it's going to go to the Sea Otter, because this, I think it's just because of how fat this is that maybe it just gives it a little bit. And then I'm feeling that clip right there a little bit. Wow, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, the Sea Otter wins that category. Just a little more comfortable, a little more neutral. That clip sits down a little more. Okay. Cutting. So you guys know I'm not a heavy user, and we're talking about pretty expensive knives, sort of custom knives here. But I've definitely used both of these. The Sea Otter has this hollow grind right here, and the Nurse has a sort of flat grind. The edge on this Nurse is just fantastic. The edge on the MBK is very good as well. It's not as, like, you know, polished or whatever. I'll take a couple cuts to make a decision now. You guys know cutting paper is not like the end all be all. I'm sure plenty of people are going to tell me that. But I got to do something. So I feel like I'm getting a little more length with the MBK, because I'm not like right up on the blade like this, like I am on the Gavco. But on the Gavco, I guess I could hold it back here. When I get into that cut, it does feel extremely good. I gotta give it to the MBK. Shit. I'm learning a lesson here. Sorry about all the paper. Yeah, the MBK just feels more comfortable to cut with. It feels more natural. I'm getting just clean cuts with it like this, with that hollow grind. With this, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't feel like I have enough blade length to get into things, and it wasn't really going through stuff that well. It was kind of catching a little bit. Might need to put an edge on this. I mean, it looks fantastic, but not quite up to par with the MBK here, so. Carry. Okay. So they both carry very well. You know, this one's a little bit fatter. This one's a little bit skinnier. This one probably goes in pocket a little smoother. because you have a very smooth scale and a good light retention on the clip. This clip is rather long lipped. It still has the same retention, but this is sort of a rougher finish. But you have studs that can catch on stuff. And you do have the edge sort of close to the end here. I did notice I carried this in my front right one time, and I went in my pocket, and I swear I felt the edge just slide along my hand, which is kind of an issue for me. This one, it's nowhere near, you know, where you're reaching in. The tip isn't either. This one carries a little deeper as well. You just have about that much sticking out. On this one, you have about that much sticking out. So, I mean, it's not much of a difference, I guess. Just feels like a little more on this one. They're similar in terms of weight. Again, this one is probably a little bit thicker. But I don't know. Very interesting. I think I would give this one to the Gavco. Just because of the experience. I feel like I've enjoyed carrying this one just slightly more, although it's really, really close. I'm going to give it to the Gavco. Sounds. Okay, so this one is, to me, going to be a clear win for the Nurse. When this thing deploys, I don't know if you hear it, but it's got kind of a double click. And then basically what that is there's the detent ball is flattened on top. So it has a real crisp break. It's kind of like it's a detent nub almost, kind of like a Sharp by Design or a haptic. Kind of gives it that double click, like when it pops and then when it opens or locks up. So you hear both those sounds in the same sort of second, and it just makes this really nice sound. And then when it closes, it has really nice sounds as well. This one is more subdued. Has a good flick opening, but very subdued on the close. Part of that is it's just a lighter detent. So it's not like sucking it in as much, if you know what I'm saying. And if you really hammer it out, you get a decent snap, but it's just not the same as this, you know? So definitely going to the Nurse. Action. So this is another clear victory for the Nurse. It has that epic click-clack. It's basically made for the reverse flick, which works fantastically left-handed or right-handed. And then you can also thumb flick it by getting up to the top of the hole. No problem. Also left or right-handed because of the liner lock. And then it does that. Essentially just drops shut. Little bit of shakage, so it's a shaker, but not by much. I got Delrin bearings in here, so this one is on bearings, which makes a difference. Extremely smooth pivot. Almost just frictionless in there. And just absolutely one of my favorites in terms of action. This knife has a good action, but the detent is just a little light for my taste. I'm going to spoil this a little bit, but I did basically sell this knife already. I have a good friend who mentioned wanting one, and I gave him first dibs on it, and he did want it. So, but it is fun to play with. I mean, you can see here, it flicks out really well. But to me, it's more of a thumb flick knife. You do have this sort of front flipper thing on here that if you're good at it, right-handed, you can get it. I suck at it. Left-handed, it's very hard because you don't have a clip to kind of hang on to. I don't know what it is, but just left-handed does not feel comfortable. It feels like it's slipping in like this, and then you're trying to flick it out, but you're going to just hit yourself right in the hand. So it just doesn't feel right. I don't know. I just don't feel, yeah, you can do it, but Thumb flick works great left-handed. I will say the lock bar is not really an issue left-handed because of the light detent, which is nice. But you got to get under it to flick it. You have to kind of shoot vertically because of the detent and the way it's set up. It's so easy to fail this knife. I wish it had a stronger detent. But I'm probably just going to wait for like a new batch or something, or when they use a new steel or something, or make a bigger one. I think part of my problem is just the size on this. Thumb studs and a smaller knife just don't work great for me when it comes to trying to reverse flick and stuff. My fingers like get in the way of the studs and catch stuff, and it just doesn't work great. Now the closing action, it drops. I polished the washers. This is on washers. It drops and then a couple of shakes and it's down. It's just nowhere near as drop shut as this one. It is very smooth as well. I mean, they both are very frictionless in the pivot. It's just that one has less resistance than the other one does. You know, this one is just as smooth, but I can't just drop it and have it shut, right? So action to me goes to the Nurse. Fit and finish. So to me, I got to give this one probably, as much as I want to say I love the shadow boxing, I love the finish on these scales, love the finish on the blade, that dinosaur stuff I was talking about, the hardware, I love it all, right? This is excellently finished. Whatever they do to these scales, man, it just really is knocked out of the park. Feels so good. Again, excellent stone washed finish. I love the hardware on this as well. We had that minor kind of detent issue, but easily reset, and it was, honestly, most people wouldn't have complained about it. Like, it came out to like here and then bounced back in, and you know, I'm really picky, so I was probably the only person to ever complain about that kind of thing. But they took care of it right away and sent it right back. Centering, yeah, I guess that's kind of fit and finish, but it's also sort of just like assembly. You can easily fix that yourself, and it is dead centered now. So fit and finish on this, I think, is really, really good. And like I said, I want to give it to this one because of all the extra little details, but the fact that it had that ridiculous amount of lock stick, and I sent it to the maker 2 times saying there was lock stick and got it back 2 times with them saying it's fine, and then it came back right away or was never gone because of humidity changes or whatever. That's just a big issue to me. That's fit and finish. You got to have a lock bar that disengages without stick. And carbonizing the lock face like they did on this is the easiest way to get rid of that. Or using a lock bar insert. Now, again, this is 100% made by hand by one guy. It's different, right? But still, that touch, that one thing almost ruined this knife for me. I mean, this thing was sent out 3 or 4 times to different people to try to fix this issue. It took like months for me to get this corrected. So like, I don't know. I have to give fit and finish to MBK, and it's not because it's not as good. I'm not just giving it to them because this had that big issue. This is very well done, and they deserve the win. So, MBK. All right, we're down to the last one, leftability. So they both work excellently left-handed. Like I said, you can reverse flick this, no problem. That lock bar does not lock anything up. So it's not really an issue, but it is a frame lock that's made for right-handed people. Hey, look at that. So I guess you can get used to it, but this is a liner lock, and I think just being... the hole is just easier to manipulate. And yeah, I just got to give it to this one for that. The liner lock solely basically wins that category. So I think this was closer than I thought. I honestly was thinking the Gavco would just run away with this. But But I think it did win slightly. Let's take a look. So we have 2, 5, 6 for the Gavko, and we have 3, 5, 6 for the Laconico. Fuck me. Fuck, I knew I needed another round, and it's because I gave him a tie somewhere. Where did I give him a tie? Materials, I gave him a tie. So I either need to pick a winner or I need to make a decision on materials. You know? So, here's what I'm going to do. This kind of takes into account multiple things, but this runs on phosphor bronze washers, which is pretty much industry standard when you're using washers, right? This runs on steel caged steel bearings when you get it from the maker. That's underwhelming in my opinion. I just think ceramic needs to be the just default at this point. That's what people want. And it's honestly better, you know? As much as anybody wants to argue with me on that, you could do that on your own platform. Nitro V 154 CM. I'm going to go ahead and say those are pretty comparable. So I think maybe the bearings and the fact that this one is like twice the price is going to give it to the MBK. Yeah. So I'm backtracking here. I'm taking a point away from the Nurse. So 6-5, the MBK Sea Otter comes in slugging above its weight class. Look at that. Just absolutely coming in like freaking Mike Tyson, 50 pounds underweight, throwing bows. All right. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about boxing. And how funny is it that I literally told you I basically sold this already. And I'm keeping this. So, have it be known that my fights are always fair. The MBK Sea Otter took the victory here. The battle of the featherweights is over. KO punch to the Gavko. So, yeah. I mean, all jokes aside, they're both fantastic knives. You can't go wrong with either one if you can get either one in your collection at some point. I think just size-wise, because of the choil, because of the hole for deployment, and because of the liner lock, this one just makes more sense for me. But if I had a smaller hand and just could manipulate this a little bit better, and I think the detent could be strengthened up on this. But again, it's like a custom knife. Most people are not going to care about that. And if you give it a good flick, she flies. I haven't heard anybody really complain about it but me. So, we all know I'm a bitch. So there it is, guys. That's your battle right there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a blast doing it. It was one I was looking forward to. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. Mike, if you see this, man, I got no hard feelings, dude. I love your work. Absolutely love your work. This thing just had a ton of lock stick, man. I don't know what I can say other than that. I didn't make it up. It existed. It got carbonized and it disappeared. When I sent it to them in California, they felt tons of lock stick too. So, I don't know, but I just wanted to say that, I guess. Love your work, dude. Hope everything goes well for you, brother. Ray, MBK, Sanford, Rindy, and Litchy. Richie and Lindy, I love you guys so much. I can't wait to get another one of these. Maybe when the steel is changed or they get, maybe, Sanford, when you do the 3.3 inch version, I'm going to be all over it. Guys, keep an eye out. These drop occasionally. They're dropping them on their site like 20 at a time when they can. They're posting on Instagram all the time when they have updates. They're going to start doing different finishes and collars and stuff. It's going to be cool. That's one I would pick up. If they did one with the copper and the satin, I would totally pick that up. And Gavco drops these on his Instagram. As he makes them, he posts them, and you just got to hit him up. You just got to say, I want that son of a bitch, and he'll sell it to you. Or they're on the secondary. There's a Facebook group if you want one of these. I literally just saw one just like this, but it was like Joker themed with a satin blade. And that was just for sale. Some guy was selling it. He may still be selling it. I don't know. But they're out there. I'm so grateful that I got this one because it's just so fantastic. I don't see it leaving my collection anytime soon. So, love you guys. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.